What's up, everybody? Welcome. Guy here, Guy Haberman, live on YouTube and in your podcast feed whenever you want it. That's the beauty of it all. Brought to you by, it's a home game. And when it's a home game, when the Niners are playing at home, as they are this week against the Kansas City Chiefs, we're brought to you by the wonderful people, our friends, big Niner fans, the Adler brothers, Puesto, Mexican, Artisan Kitchen. They got 2 locations at Levi Stadium. So if you're going to the game, good for you, by the way. That's awesome. Go pregame, go during the game, go after the game, one of the 2 locations. Get yourself some tacos, that crispy, melted cheese wrapping, that maybe the filet mignon. What? Filet mignon tacos? That's right. Maybe the quesadilla, the short rib. Maybe the Baja fried fish and the crispy shrimp with the barbecue sweet and sour. I'm telling you, I've got a lot of messages from people that go, oh my God, you make this sound so good. Yeah, because it is so good. It just is that good. It's so easy to talk about. They've got locations outside of the stadium as well, Santa Clara, Concord in Northern California, and then in Southern California in Orange County and San Diego. I love Puesto. It's so easy to tell you about it. The chicken flautas, the chicharrones, the chilaquiles, the potato taquitos, and the shrimp gobernador quesadilla. Go open the door to my belly. And, of course, the margaritas. We're talking fresh strawberry, fresh lime. They're just going to hit the spot on a warm autumn day. It's absolutely perfect. Or on a cool autumn day, it'll warm you up. It's a margarita. It's delicious. Then you go into one of the restaurants and you get the full menu, right? Now you're talking about lobster. Like I said, the short rib quesadilla is my personal favorite, the juicy short rib. A little kick of Jalisco. It's just on and on and on. The guacamole is fantastic. It's just awesome. I mean, imagine how and by the way, you're supporting Niner fans when you go to Puesto, but you're going to walk out of there thanking them and thanking me for telling you to go. If you're watching on YouTube, just scan the QR code. By the way, who else is making fresh tortillas in a stadium but these guys? Puesto's doing it. Commitment to excellence. Commitment to excellence. That's the thing, right? Commitment to excellence. I mean, if you say it, you got to mean it. Puesto. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. I see in the comments all these people love it. Like Sean, who says, okay, guy, get on with it. All right, well, Sean, go to Puesto. Send me a picture of Puesto. I'm in no rush. It's Monday. It's a big week. Actually, I am in a rush. I got a lot to do. I'm going to Jersey this week for UCLA, Rutgers college football on FS1 if you want to watch that. But it's a big week. Niners, Chiefs. You don't get a championship ring if you win the rematch. I got a good little feeling about the 49ers this week, which is weird considering that, they kind of stumbled their way at times to a win. The Chiefs have been, I don't want to say stumbling their way to undefeated because they're doing a lot of good things, especially on defense. But, it does feel like some tides have turned in the 49ers' favor. Some you're happy to have. Some, you probably feel a little guilty about taking. The one you're happy to have is the Ricky Pearsall back at practice on Monday. That's a big deal. Beyond this, the guy was shot, right? Shot in the chest. Most people die when they get shot in the vicinity of where he got shot, and he's back on the practice field today, which is big. But from a football standpoint also, and I should say not but, and from a football standpoint, it's significant. I mean, it's I think they need him or could use him maybe even a little bit more than I thought they would need to this year. So we'll talk about that. And then the thing that happened that maybe you feel a little guilty about is the Aiden Hutchinson broken leg, tibia, fibula, whichever, both of them actually against the Cowboys. And, they kicked the Cowboys' ass. And I was watching Get Up this morning, and Rex Ryan was going on about it's only one game. And the other people like, no, it's not more. And it's not one game. You get your ass kicked. It is one game. We didn't learn anything new about Dallas. That's who they've been from the start, but of the McCarthy era. But I mean, if you were the Lions, you'd rather have Aiden Hutchinson than that game. You don't get to choose, But if you got to choose, that's what you choose. This significantly hurts the Lions' NFC championship hopes. And, when you look up at the 49ers in the standings, you go, oh, hold on a second. Right now, as bad as it feels, and I said this last week after they lost to the Cardinals, as bad as it feels, they play Thursday. They win that game. They're in first place in the NFC. And the NFC is just weird. Like, the teams in the NFC, the team that to me is the biggest threat is the Lions, but they're in a good division right now. Now, that division, do not take anything we've seen yet. This is why the NFC is still, it's so early. The NFC North, I think they've played one game. That entire division has played one game against itself. So the fact that Minnesota's 5-0 right now is fine. They're not going to this. I have news. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Okay. I know they beat the Niners. The Vikings are not going to the Super Bowl. I have news. The Atlanta Falcons are the 2 seed right now in the NFC. They're not going to the Super Bowl. I have news. The Washington Commanders having a great year. They're not going to the Super Bowl. The Bears ain't going to the Super Bowl. The Bucks ain't going to the Super Bowl. Okay. So the Saints, it wasn't that long ago. People were like, oh, the Saints, they're pretty good. They ain't going to the Super Bowl. Hell, they may not go to the playoffs. They're 2-4. So the Niners are in fine shape. You can only, and this is some years you go, oh, you can only play the schedule you're given. It's a college football thing or it's a college thing. Like, oh, you're 7-0. Yeah, well, hey, we haven't played anybody. You haven't played anybody. Yeah, we only play the schedule we're given. Well, you only play in the conference that you play in, and they play in the NFC, and the NFC is WAO, wide ass open right now, right? On top of that, now you got Detroit, who we'll see. Maybe in the end they'll win their division. I think there's still a very good chance that Detroit wins its division, but they're basically what the Niners would be on their defensive line if the 49ers lost Nick Bosa. I already thought it was iffy on the Super Bowl, but they just clearly have some juice. They've got some continuity. Their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, is elite. They've got swag. Their limitation in like a big game, and Goff is awesome, but can he be a championship quarterback? He's gotten there before. Maybe he could do it again. But to lose Aiden Hutchinson, their other edge rushers, it's kind of like the Niners setup. Like, if you don't know the Lions very well, but you know the Niners, look at the Niners and go, all right, what happens if Leonard Floyd became their best pass rusher? How would that change their defense? It would change their defense in a significant way. I mean, outside of Bosa and outside of Aiden Hutchinson on those two teams, you don't have an edge rusher ranked in Pro Football Focus's top 50. In fact, now he plays less snaps than like Marcus Davenport does for Detroit, but and the other guy Pascal. But the highest graded edge rusher on the Lions and the Niners, outside of Bosa and Aiden Hutchinson, do you know who it is? It's Sam O. The 49ers have the third highest graded pass rusher in that group. So that's all to say it's a very significant injury. I think part of what makes them so special is you look at a team that they're like a younger version of the 49ers in that, they've got like top 25 players on offense and top 25 players on defense, especially on offense, all over the field. And they lose maybe their best one. Now they're still, Amon-Ra St. Brown is still a bear. Like David Montgomery, these guys still can run. Like, they play hard. They are and they're the other thing, they're kind of mirror the Niners, a younger version of the Niners, is while their OC isn't their head coach, they have a legit, Ben Johnson's just like a big time OC. So, and he refuses to leave for some reason. So right now you got a Chiefs game this week, but the bigger picture of the NFC, if you can win this division, now you're talking about maybe you stay ahead of Detroit. If I had to bet right now, I say Detroit still wins that division, but even without Hutchinson. But I think it really hurts them when playoff time rolls around, but maybe not. Anyway, but the point is, maybe you're hosting them in a 4-5 game, and then you're going to Minnesota. Okay. So there is still going to be so much change in the NFC standings. You look at the AFC and it's Kansas City's 1, Houston's 2, Baltimore's 3, Buffalo's 4. Will there be some change? Yeah, but I mean, some version of that group will probably be 3 of the top 4 or all 4 of the top 4 teams in the AFC. This NFC is going to be this thing's all over the place. So it could look completely different by the time we get to December, let alone by the time we get to the playoffs. So the Niners are in good shape from that standpoint. I mean, you think about Philly. Philly is 3-2, battling to beat the Browns. And if you're Philly, you got to feel okay, except for the fact that, Sirianni's screaming at Browns fans and then telling his team in the locker room afterwards, like hungry and humble. It's amazing. So Dallas is Dallas, meaning they may make the playoffs, but they're kind of the same team that they've always been. So in other words, you stay ahead of them, you play them at home, great. They get ahead of you, you play them on the road, great. As long as the Niners can kind of be a little more, I think the Niners have to be a little more disciplined in the margins, and that means figuring special teams out a little bit. A lot of it. But to me, what it really means is if they're going to become this, we're going to throw the ball a little bit more team, they've got to do it efficiently. I would love to see them. I like the version of them that's we run the ball. I think it's a more natural fit for Kyle Shanahan, but they're going to be that we throw the ball a little bit more team. Okay. If that's what you got to be, then that's what you got to be. But I think it opens you up to some issues. And I think we've seen that this year. So the good news is Purdy's better than he was last year. I think Brock's in good shape. And he's going to have a great matchup, a great opportunity. It's fun to see him go up against this Chiefs defense this week. So, and now the other thing, Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall back on Monday, huge deal. Ricky Pearsall back on Monday, incredible comeback story. Tough-ass dude. What does it feel like to get to play football after, you were laying on the concrete wondering if you were going to die? I don't know, but he looks, from all the video you've seen, pretty happy, itching to get back out there. And I think he can help them, and they need him to help them a little bit more than I expected. Who knows? You end up playing the Chiefs again in the Super Bowl. We're a long way from that, but now you'll have in that game a guy that you don't have in this game, a little bit of an X factor, Ricky Pearsall. When I think about Ricky Pearsall, I think back to watching him in the preseason and in camp. And if you were watching some of those shows or listening to some of those shows, you know that I felt pretty good about him. I was somebody who was okay with the draft pick, even though even they admitted they were trying to trade back. They weren't necessarily looking going into that draft to take Ricky Pearsall in the first round, but they did. And I think he's a high floor player, much like the rest of their first round is proving to be. And he's a useful player. You don't need him to be better than Debo or Juwan Jennings or Brandon Ayuk. You need him to be in the right place at the right time with reliable hands. And I think one thing that he showed, and there was some question about, well, does he have breakaway speed? What this team needs is not breakaway speed. They need a guy that can get open quickly. And that's what we don't know yet. Like press coverage, no L'Jarius Sneed, obviously, but you end up in the Super Bowl. If he's in that Super Bowl last year, is he getting open more than some of the other Niner receivers? I don't know. That's going to be the big test, especially now that you have the injury. What's his strength like? What's his stamina like? We're going to find out. But I think it really would help Brock Purdy to have a receiver that can get open quickly. This whole Brock is holding onto the ball and his time to throw has gone through the roof, and he's scrambling and making plays. And Orlovsky says, oh, he's making as many killer plays with his legs as Pat Mahomes. Easy, but I mean, yes, I am pro Brock. You know this, I think. He's making plays with his legs. Mahomes has made back-breaking plays in the Super Bowl to win championships. The Niners still got things to prove. Like down 3 with 2 minutes left, down 4 with 2 minutes left. Can you get down the field and score a touchdown? What did Spagnuolo do last year? 3rd down, 4 yards to go, 2-minute warning, brings an extra pressure, and the Niners play is dead on arrival, right? But the ball gets bad at the line of scrimmage. Trent McDuffie came on the pressure. And what did they do on 3rd down in the red zone? Chris Jones somehow gets through unblocked, and that play is dead on arrival. No chance. And what happened against the Cardinals 2 weeks ago? Niners have a big second down play. Rushing, or was it first down? Whatever it was. 2-minute offense, trying to get down the field. Last second, Cardinals bring a free rusher, cornerback, hot route. Ball doesn't get out in time. I mean, that's a very specific thing. When there is designed pressure and you got to get the ball out quickly, and Brock is, for the most part, really good against pressure, but in crunch time, 2-minute offense, oh, look, there's John Candy time of the game. They've had some really critical failures where their play doesn't even get a chance. It's one thing to throw a ball and a DB makes a play, good coverage, right? It's one thing to throw it and the guy gets tackled shy of the line. I don't know, whatever. But for the ball to not even have a chance to get caught, that's something they need to do better. It's got to be better. And so they'll get a chance at that this week. But maybe that's a spot where Ricky Pearsall will help a little bit. Because I do think he's going to be open. And I think the best thing about him is for a rookie, he's going to prove to be reliable. Here's the other under-discussed thing about Ricky Pearsall. And it's an under-discussed part of the 49ers special teams, right? They've been bad in coverage. But they haven't really done much in the return game. They've put Debo back there in the kick return game, on the punt return game. You know, Jacob Cowing has not really created any dynamic plays. In fact, he's looked a little more wobbly than I expected him to, based on the way he looked in camp and in the preseason. Had the muff against the Vikings. I don't know if he lost it or whatever it was. But that's also an area where Ricky Pearsall can contribute. So when you look up and go, I don't know, guy. I mean, 3rd down and 4, is Ricky Pearsall even going to be on the field? Maybe not. But I think you can get him on special teams as well to be a contributor for this team, and they need it. Because I said earlier, like, are they going to be able to clean up special teams? I don't know. So maybe their move is going to be they're going to have to also make special teams plays. They did it a couple of weeks ago with the blocked kick for a touchdown. If you're going to be giving up, if you're going to giveth, you should take it a little bit too. So I think that's an under-discussed part of Ricky Pearsall, the special teams aspect of Ricky Pearsall, which they need, because it wasn't that long ago. 2 weeks ago, Kyle Juszczyk is back there taking a punt. So that's a big deal. That is a big deal. In addition to, I think he just fundamentally, and I don't think they need this. Like, I think they're in pretty good spirits, but fundamentally, getting a guy back in the situation that he's coming back from is just good, positive vibes. Like, how could everybody not be inspired? Now, they won the other day. They got back on the horse and they won the game. But how could you not be inspired by Ricky Pearsall? He was already like a juiced up guy. Like, he practices hard, brings energy. Obviously McCaffrey is that type of guy. He's not on McCaffrey's level. I don't know that anybody is. But I think there's just a lot of positivity now that comes with Ricky Pearsall. And some of it is fundamental to the offense, and some of it is just basic to the locker room. And it's a big deal. So, they still got to go win. There's still some fundamental issues with them. They haven't played well from behind historically. They haven't played well from ahead. That's normally what they do, is they take a game, they put it away. But they got to be better about that. Brock is getting pressured at the top of the league average. Forget about the league average. If you just look at the raw numbers, and Brock has some, he's fewer dropbacks than some of these other guys, and he's getting pressured a ton. He's top 5 in pressures this year. Brock Purdy in the raw number. Maybe not. Okay. Brock is 6th in the percentage of his dropbacks on which he's pressured. 40% of his dropbacks he's pressured. The other guys, Jacoby Brissett, Jalen Hurts, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Justin Fields, and Brock Purdy. All right. Those are the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL by the percentage of their dropbacks that they're under pressure. Seattle, it felt like it was the most. It wasn't. I think it was 2nd, but not by much. And that's going to get tested in a big way. So when I think about what to watch for, it's Monday, but it's time for an early look at the Chiefs 49ers game. What are some big things that really stand out? 3 things really stand out to me. All right. 1, this offensive line was not great against Seattle, but you know who was good against Seattle? Was Dominic Puni. And Dominic Puni is the one guy who wasn't there last year to try and help on Chris Jones. What happened in the Super Bowl on 3rd down in the red zone with a chance to, take the lead? It was Spencer Burford as part of a right guard rotation, ad-libbing, making a mistake, and letting Chris Jones come unblocked up the middle. So it's not just about the physical. It's also about the mental test that Dominic Puni is going to have. But he played well last week. Last week was, remember, we went through the beginning of the year. There's a lot of games where the Niners are going to play really good interior pass rushers. No one else is Chris Jones, but other guys like Chris Jones. And one of the teams on that list is Seattle with Jaron Reed and Leonard Williams, right? Those are two of the top interior pass rushers in the league. Those are like two top 15 guys. And Dominic Puni played excellent football last week against a good interior rush. So number one, it's not just about tonight. It's about this week. It's also about a potential rematch, but it's also about the other teams you play, understanding how critical that spot is in big games against some of the best teams. So Dominic Puni getting a taste of Chris Jones. There's no more Aaron Donald. So we get to see Puni against Chris Jones. And that's it. That's on the list of what to watch for. Maybe number 3. Maybe I'll go in descending order. I think number 2, it's Ayuk. Like, can Brandon Ayuk get open and make plays? L'Jarius Sneed is gone. Trent McDuffie's one of the best corners in the league. Jalen Watson, another very good corner. They have a very good cornerback combo. He was not productive in the Super Bowl. He was productive last Sunday against Arizona. Really productive breakout game. Did not break out again on Thursday night, but made a couple of big plays. And the thing I think about when I think about the Chiefs and the Niners is not just Ayuk, whether or not he's getting open and making plays, but Ayuk being really frustrated. Ayuk doesn't slam his helmet, throw stuff the way DK Metcalf does, scream at people on the sideline the way DK Metcalf does. As it happens in the 4 quarters, it's much more internal for him. But think about what happened after that Super Bowl. It was clear, and you talk to people around the 49ers as well. Brandon Ayuk was really, really, really distraught. He felt like he wasn't able to contribute in the way that he should. You think about the end of the season farewell press conference. He's wearing the sunglasses. He's in tears. Maybe he thinks he's gone. And, I think it's clear that Ayuk feels like if he had gotten the ball more, they would have won the Super Bowl. And I don't know if he takes that personally per se, but I think he feels like they missed opportunities, right? When it hits the fan, what do the Niners do? They turn to Debo. They don't turn to Ayuk when things are falling apart. And he wants to be the guy that they turn to. He wants to be the guy that can go make a play. And he took a lot of shit in the offseason. Forget about the holdout stuff. Debo did too. Those two guys have taken a lot of flack, a ton, probably as much criticism as they've taken in their careers for the Super Bowl, because people looked at those two guys and said, you're not good enough to get open when it's championship nut cutting time. Steve Spagnuolo and his guys locked you down. It cost your team the Super Bowl. Your defense played well against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They did enough to win. Steve Wilkes on his way out the door. His bags are packed for him. He's catching a different flight home. And they played pretty well. But you guys, this is what it felt like to them, I'm sure. Like, you guys, Brock Purdy was good enough. Nick Bosa was good enough. You guys didn't get it. You're the big money guys, right? And Debo's heard it since he signed his contract. And now Ayuk's been hearing it. But it's not new to his contract. It goes back to the Super Bowl. And I think like any elite performer, anybody who thinks they're a championship level performer, not just athletes, just everybody in general, there's nothing you can say to me that I won't already say to myself. There's no nitpick you can give me that I'm not aware of when I watch the tape of myself, right? And I think Ayuk's assessment of that Super Bowl was, I should have got the ball more. Kyle, you should have got me open more. Brock, you should have found me more. And I'm not saying he is saying that or he's being disruptive, but I think that's how he feels. Well, okay, here we go. Did he perform against the Rams early in the year? You're paid for this opponent, right? You're paid for you got paid despite the fact that you didn't light up the Super Bowl, but you got paid like a top receiver. So, like, this is a huge game for Brandon Ayuk. Somebody asked, I saw in the chat earlier, are they still in the mix if they lose this game? Yeah, I mean, the NFC math says yes. The NFC math says yes. It's not going to feel good to be 3-4 though. But so that's the first thing. As I said on Sunday, this is a math conference. This is a math season this year, meaning win your division, however it looks, get a home game in the first round of the playoffs, go play some team that you feel like you can beat in round 2. I mean, there is nobody right now in the NFC that you don't think you can go on the road and beat, and get yourself in the dance with a little bit of time to either play at home. The thing's just wide open. So I say that's just a response to what is lost if you lose to Kansas City. It's not ideal, but it's a much longer math problem this year in the NFC. So that's thing number 2. And then thing number 3 is the obvious. It's the best one. This is what it's all. Football is chess and mixed martial arts together as one sport. It's chess and boxing. And boxing is chess, and mixed martial UFC is chess. But football is high-level chess and high-level hand-to-hand combat. And, Brock Purdy and Steve Spagnuolo, and Spagnuolo gave him credit after the Super Bowl as a hell of a matchup. And Kyle Shanahan did not help a ton, right? They lost their Brian Flores matchup, and they've lost these Steve Spagnuolo matchups. And, you're not avenging the Super Bowl on Sunday, but you are trying to just add a chapter to your quarterback's, experience ledger. And, if it comes down to a tie game with 4 minutes left and you got a shot and Mahomes has a shot, who makes the plays? So it's just another great test. Historically, you had all those regular season games with Peyton Manning and Bill Belichick, and Belichick got the best of him a lot. This is not that. But, if Brock Purdy signs a big contract and is the 49ers quarterback for the next decade, the chances we see these guys playing, several more times is high. Steve Spagnuolo still wants to be a head coach, but he's in a pretty great situation. So it's just a moment. All of these things, especially early in a player's career, are great opportunities to not to prove something, but to learn something about yourself. This is not about proving to me or you or Nick Wright or whoever that you should have him higher in your rankings. This is about proving to yourself what you believe. I believe that Brock believes that he can go orchestrate a 2-minute drive down 4 minutes and beat the Chiefs. I believe that Brock believes if he goes toe-to-toe with Steve Spagnuolo 20 times, he'll win more than half of them. That's what he thinks. He'll win every one in his mind, right? So he believes that. But I still think you got to go get the experience of proving it to yourself, of proving it to your coach, of proving it to your teammates. And I think for Shanahan, there's a little bit of this too now. Kyle's proven a lot. Kyle's done a lot. But things are not great, not perfect right now, right? They're in good shape because the NFC allows them to be. But what about these moments? What about when you get Brian Flores? What about when you get Steve Spagnuolo? It's one thing to get a 14-point lead and milk the clock and win a game, which they haven't done really this year, but you know what I'm saying. But, can he figure something out? He's still a young coach. Steve Spagnuolo's evolving. Brian Flores is evolving. Ben Johnson is evolving. Kyle Shanahan, still a lot of career left. You hope in 10 years he's a much better coach than he is today. So, part of that evolution is iron sharpens iron, good against good. Kyle Shanahan against Steve Spagnuolo. So those are my big 3. I normally that type of thing waits for a Thursday, but not this week. This is too good. This is the big game, the big Fox game. Tom Brady back again. Burkhardt back again. This is awesome. This is like no. Oregon, Ohio State felt bigger. 2 versus 3. How great was that game? Did you watch that game? That game was awesome this week in Eugene. It was incredible. But this is also awesome. This is big. This is big, 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 big. Huge. Hey, by the way, this is not my full 5-minute, but I just a little quickie. I do want to tell you about PrizePicks. I want to just show you real quick. Use the code GUY. You make a $5 lineup, and you immediately get $50 into your account. It's that simple. You go to PrizePicks. There's a link down in the description. You click it. You go to PrizePicks. You put in the code GUY. You make a $5 lineup. A lineup is just 2 or more players. You pick more or less. You can do NBA. You can do NFL first quarters. You can do MLB. You can do hockey. You can do college football. College football is really fun. I think there's some opportunity out there in college football. But for example, like Monday night, anyway, use the code GUY. You bank a $5 lineup. Whether you win or lose, you immediately get $50 into your account. But like, here's a couple things I'm going to do. I'm going to make a quick lineup. I'll show you. I'm going to go Josh Allen, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns tonight. I thought about doing an Aaron Rodgers pick for Monday night, like an Aaron Rodgers spite game. I think there's some people have revenge games. Aaron Rodgers has spite games, but I don't know. Like, is he going to spitefully play poorly because they replaced his OC? But I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers more than 217.5 passing yards. That just seems like a layup. Whatever their issues are, Aaron Rodgers in prime time, I'm going over 217.5 passing yards. And then here, listen to the logic on this one. You can do punts inside the 20. I'm going to take the Jets punter, Thomas Morstead, and I'm going to go less than 1.5 yards, 1.5 punts inside the 20. And my logic is Jeff Ulbrich, interim head coach. Interim head coaches love just, we're changing the culture here. We got to be aggressive. We're going for it. So, I don't think they're punting at midfield on Monday night. So there we go. There's 3 picks. And then you can do a couple of things. You can either power play, like I could put $50 in and 5.25x my money, or I can hedge a little, which I normally don't do, but I'll just show you. And then I just 3x my money if I get 3 right, but I still get 1.5 times my money if I get 2 correct. So I'm just going to do that. That's just a simple little flex play. And there you go. PrizePicks code GUY. Check it out. All right. Let's check on some of your comments here. Comment. Remember, Demo said on Sherman's podcast he wanted to play slot in the Super Bowl, but Wilkes shot it down. Said that the Chiefs did damage in the slot with Kelsey, and he could stop that. Yeah, that's a good little matchup call this week. Is Travis Kelsey playing his final NFL season? Is Travis Kelsey going to retire after this year? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Somebody asked who's going to defend Kelsey. Maybe it's Diamado Leno. Thomas says Ayuk was wide open at the 2-minute warning on the Super Bowl on a play designed for him, but Purdy thought Jennings was having a better game. Surprised Purdy escaped the blame for that. You're talking about out of the 2-minute warning, 3rd down and 4, hot route, Ayuk on the slant. Yeah, he was open early, and the ball came out not early, got batted down. That's one thing they got to be better at. Comment from Rob. We could realistically lose this game and the Cowboys game for what we've seen so far. And the Cowboys are ass. Yeah, it's the NFL. You can lose a bunch of games. Every year you could lose a bunch of games. Mostly they win like 12. But yeah, that's true. Although, this version of the Niners is more likely to lose to Dallas than some other versions of them. Like the version of them that runs the ball, has a good defense, and doesn't make a ton of mistakes. That version they own the Cowboys with that version. This version of the Niners is kind of a little bit more like the Dallas, like a Mike McCarthy team. Which they got to fix that. I don't love that. Sean says, go Bruins, but they suck. But I enjoyed your call of the game, guy. Thanks. I don't like that. I don't like that. I did the UCLA game last week. I'm going to do it again this week. I really like Deshaun Foster. They played coming into the game last week against Minnesota, 4 teams that were 20-1, all ranked in the top 25, like really good teams, like Penn State and Oregon. I mean, they were playing excellent teams. They were in year 1 of a rebuild. They got all that whole coaching staff got the job late. Then they play Minnesota. That's a really good operation. PJ Fleck's a good coach. So, yeah, I mean, their record, they got 1 win. They've lost 5 in a row. But they play hard. They actually they got good players. I like them. I do. Like I just like their people. I respect that they played through a lot of adversity, losing 4 straight and some really tough opponents, and came out and had a chance to win last week against Minnesota, who's solid. Minnesota is a good team. So, I hope they got a long trip this week against Rutgers, where I'll be. And Rutgers coming off a tough loss, but Greg Schiano, good coach too. So I'm excited about that game. And to see UCLA. I enjoyed UCLA the other day. They don't run the ball at all. But yeah. Yeah, Deshaun Foster, the old Panthers running back. You want discipline? I don't know how you grew up in your house. His dad was a Marine and a boxer. So I'm sure some of you grew up in disciplined homes, but hard to top that level of discipline. Hard to top that level of discipline. He's a disciplined guy. Josh says, I feel like early adversity always ends with us to go on a winning streak. This is why I said last week, I felt really good about the Niners against the Seahawks. Because, as you know, the Seahawks are capped. They have a ceiling. But like Thursday was the spot where the Niners go win a game convincingly. Now, they had a chance to win it convincingly and then didn't. The final score, if you didn't watch the game, was not an indication of how that game felt. But, they did go win it. Yeah. Deshaun Foster, the old 49er. I don't remember that. Dante. What? Let me go to my NFL reference. I do not remember the 49. Was that like a year? Was he on the Niners for a year? Oh, yeah, 16 games, 76 carries, 08. Dang. I'll have to bring that up to him this week. Okay, let's talk about the 2008. Let's talk about the 2008 49ers. Sean Hill, JT O'Sullivan, 25-year-old Frank Gore. Yeah. Young Delaney. Big old Joe Nedney. 23-year-old Patrick Willis and Takeo Spikes and Justin Smith. It's kind of crazy that like those guys were all still there when the Niners got good 4 years later. Deshaun Goldson was there. Jeff Ulbrich was there. Vernon Davis was there. A lot of guys played for all the roster turnover from when they were bad to when they were good. Ray McDonald. They did carry over a lot of players who had seen, the worst of the worst by the time they got good. Deshaun was not around for that. Oops, hold on. Comment from James. Super chat. Seems like the Kansas City run defense is fierce. Missing 24. Big test for the Niners. Maybe he plays. We got how many? Good on the kicker? It sounds like the shoulder popped out, popped back in. Something like that on the kicker. How old was Takeo Spikes then? Somebody asked. I don't know. I'm guessing 29. 32. Dang. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if Mason's going to be back. I kind of feel like he might though, because he was trying to get back in that game the other day. You got 2 games, then you got the bye. let's not talk 08. Yeah, I heard Mike Pereira explain today what happened. I didn't quite understand it on the review, but basically what he said was the NFL office doesn't have the ability to zoom in the way that the television truck has the ability to zoom in on a replay, which is weird. But they use that Hawkeye technology, and they can't, from what I understand, enhance the image. From what I understand, from what Pereira said. I'm in regular contact with Pereira, but it's mostly on college stuff, not on, and it is not mostly, it's always on college stuff, not on NFL stuff. But if I can get some clarification on that, I'll ask him. All right. On that note, that's it for today. Go holler at Puesto and use that code GUY PrizePicks. Code GUY at PrizePicks. Appreciate it. I think you'll have fun with it. I love it. And you know, it's a way to support. If you're looking for a way, if you're like, hey, I want to play and support the show, whatever. Then that's you know, you can do it if you're into it. Go check it out. Appreciate y'all. That's it.